Welcome to the University of Minnesota's online module for students with disabilities studying abroad. My name is Molly, and I'll be your host today. Thank you for your interest in studying abroad. This presentation will guide you through the key considerations and steps involved in securing appropriate disability accommodations overseas. Study abroad is exciting and stressful for all students. For students with disabilities, a few additional steps need to be taken to ensure that their access needs will be met. Since the benefits of the ADA do not follow students abroad, planning ahead is key to a successful experience. We will cover a variety of topics in this presentation. First, we will discuss common types of accommodations and give examples of each. Second, we will clarify the roles of key individuals you will work with to plan for your study abroad experience. Third, we will examine the steps involved in securing disability accommodations abroad. We'll highlight important pre-departure planning considerations and provide resources for additional information. Disability accommodations can take many forms. Accommodations for exams are the most common. This may include extra time and/or a private testing environment. Coursework-related accommodations could consist of flexible deadlines or limiting how many exams a student may take in one day. Examples of classroom accommodations include reserved seating, an adapted chair for lumbar support, or an adjustable height table. Students who require a reduced course load could have a policy accommodation. Housing accommodations could incorporate a private room, an accessible room, or a specific location for accessibility purposes. Excursion accommodations may include providing accessible transportation or identifying alternative excursion destinations. Several additional considerations often need to be made when students with disabilities study abroad. A growing number of students with or without disabilities have ongoing medical needs. In this case, it is essential that students arrange to have access to enough prescribed medication for the duration of their time abroad. Also, an increasing number of students are requesting counseling services abroad. If you anticipate this need, check in advance with your overseas program to learn whether or not reputable counselors are available for students. If you will be traveling to a non-English speaking location, keep in mind that counseling in English may not be available. In this case, you should consult with your U.S. counselor in advance to discuss using Skype or other means of communication. Students with significant physical disabilities who use a personal care assistant for daily living activities typically need this same assistance abroad. Your Disability Services Advisor will be able to verify the need for this assistance and can explore funding options with you. In addition, it will be important to clarify the role of the personal care assistant while abroad and determine who will pay for the travel expenses of this individual. You will need to discuss funding for the expenses of the personal care assistant with your Disability Services Office in advance in order to determine whether any financial assistance is available. Deaf or hard of hearing students may need captioning or sign language interpreting in order to fully participate in a program. Disability Services staff can assist you with identifying resources for these services and explore in-country options. Funding for these services is determined on a case-by-case basis. Keep in mind that you must meet the standard eligibility requirements of your overseas program. Disability accommodations are designed to provide access to individuals who meet the academic or other key criteria expected of all participants. It's your responsibility to disclose your accommodation needs to your study abroad program and disability services in a timely manner. When determining and arranging reasonable accommodations for a student with a disability, we typically use an accommodation triangle that includes the student, the Disability Services Advisor, and the faculty or Education Abroad Advisor. When planning for an education abroad experience, This model also includes the overseas contact. Each member has a key role in the accommodation process. As the student, you should explore study abroad options that meet your academic and personal needs in consultation with your study abroad office. Most students find it helpful to disclose their accommodation needs during the program selection process. That way, their study abroad advisor can investigate possibilities and help them make an informed decision about their study abroad options. It's helpful to identify more than one potential study abroad site to allow greater flexibility when identifying the site that can best provide the disability accommodations you need. Once one or more potential sites have been identified, you should work with your Disability Services Advisor to complete an accommodations request form that identifies your overseas accommodation needs. This form is available on the Access Abroad page. The completed form will be shared with your study abroad office so that they can confirm the accommodations that are possible abroad. Be certain to disclose your disability needs in a timely manner, ideally at least 8 weeks prior to departure. This will allow you to confirm the exact accommodations that will be provided on-site prior to departure. For study abroad advisors, the process of advising students with disabilities is similar to the process of advising any student studying abroad. Disability needs vary by student, so the advisor will focus on your academic and personal interests first when selecting possible study abroad locations. The study abroad advisor should receive your completed accommodations request form during the program selection process and will share it with the overseas site or program provider. This will allow them to determine what accommodations are possible abroad. Once you have selected your program and been accepted, your study abroad advisor will share with you the name of the person facilitating your accommodations abroad. We recommend that you review your needs with your overseas contact upon arrival to confirm the accommodations that will be provided. Most accommodations do not require special funding. However, in cases where special funding may be required, you will need to consult with the Study Abroad Office and Disability Services to determine the extent of any funding obligations and resources. Disability Services staff is responsible for completing the accommodation request form with you and sharing it with your Study Abroad advisor. Disability Services advisors are an access resource for both you and your Study Abroad advisor. Disability Services staff can also assist in identifying creative access solutions and exploring funding options for reasonable accommodations. Overseas staff is responsible for reviewing the accommodations request form and notifying the U.S. organization or institution of what types of accommodations are possible. They will often consult with study abroad staff to make this determination. Keep in mind that accommodations will vary abroad, and some sites may not be able to provide the accommodations you need or be able to provide them in the manner that you are used to. In this case, it is helpful to have an alternative site in mind so that you can identify a program that is able to provide appropriate disability accommodation support. Overseas staff will also identify your primary point of contact for accommodations and assist you throughout your experience abroad. If you encounter unexpected access issues abroad, you should work collaboratively with the overseas staff, disability services, and your campus education abroad office to resolve any issues. A number of additional resources are available on the Access Abroad website. These include interviews with past participants, links to summaries of accessibility at select overseas sites, tips on living with a host family, travel considerations, and many other helpful guidelines. The Accommodations Request Form is a key resource to clarify your accommodation needs and confirm overseas program support. You may also have additional accommodation needs during your time abroad. Your Disability Services Advisor should review the form with you and assist you in determining what accommodations are needed. Not all accommodations are possible, and you should distinguish between essential and preferred accommodations. The Pre-Departure Student Checklist is a helpful planning tool that outlines the steps involved in identifying a program, disclosing your accommodation needs, and preparing for your time abroad. You may need to modify this checklist to fit your particular academic circumstances and program timelines. It is your responsibility to investigate overseas organizations that might provide assistance to you while you are abroad. You should also be aware of the cultural norms that exist in your host country regarding students with disabilities. Mobility International offers a wide variety of resources as well as a listing of overseas disability organizations. Being an informed traveler is a critical aspect of any successful overseas experience. As a reminder, advanced planning, timely and comprehensive disclosure of your disability accommodation needs, and flexibility regarding your study abroad location are key to a successful experience. Be certain to work closely with your Disability Services Advisor and your Study Abroad office to help realize your academic and personal goals. Thank you for viewing the online module for students with disabilities. Visit these resources for more information and contact your Education Abroad Program Office with specific questions. We wish you a positive and safe experience abroad.